So I'm going to talk about my routine clean setup because this is what we sell online as our primary service. So actually, let's go back a level first. The scope group settings are important because they do control some things within the individual scope as well. So I have it set up that that deep cleans and routine cleans show up in my office by default, that we're giving people these as their default quotes. We have to uncheck them if we want to just do one or the other. For online quotes, the default scope is just the routine cleaning. The required skills, this is what creates the labor pool. Again, at your employee level, they need to have the same skills tag as your group so that they fall into the same revenue or goals on labor hours within this group. On this page, you can create some marketing text that displays on your page. So this is all set here, and then these are the notes as they are displayed on your website as it's if your iframe is installed on your website. So again, it's full HTML editable if you want to get really fancy with what you want to do. It does support embedding videos or other images. So you can also use links to link out to your what you're doing about COVID. And this is probably, I don't know when I last updated this article, but this probably is due for an update for my company at this point. So we haven't updated this in a while, so probably needs some additional updates. Our guarantee, things like that we want to make sure that they're aware of, that all can be put in the notes. And then if there's things like online prices are subject to final inspection of your home when your team arrives, and all terms of service, I probably should link to my terms of service too. And then here is where you can have your agreement, your terms of service, and this is what they need to agree to when they sign up for online booking. And then this is what's sent to them when they are confirming their quote. So this can be found at the scope group level for setting both of these up. And I have recently posted my agreement terms in the Hangout Hub. So if you search agreement terms in the Hangout Hub, you should be able to find a recent post that I did on that there. Revenue and goals. So just remember, you can set up your availability of what you want to sell on any given day based on the hours of employees that you have, or based on revenue goals. Revenue goals would be like saying we just want to hit $3,000 today. And actually you can flip back and forth without any harm. So I could change this and say, all right, we want to hit $9,000 a day. And if we aren't hitting 9,000, then we have room to sell up. And so on the days that we've exceeded 9,000, for example, this Friday, even though we're doing 0 today and 0 tomorrow, or 0 today and 0 yesterday because of the blizzard or whatever this weather phenomenon is in St. Louis, then those would be not available for any online sales. And we are oversold into Monday and Tuesday, but we still, I don't know what's going on with those dates. I'll have to look at why those are only showing 194 or 614 when we certainly have quite a bit more to sell on those dates. So I'll double check that. We aren't really using that, so I'm not clear on that. But there seems to be something not quite right here when I look at available hours versus job hours here, 188 on Thursday. So that may be something I want to have addressed. But the idea is that this is what's going to control what's available for sale. So I'm looking to sell 34 hours here on March 2nd based on the employees that I have scheduled and the efficiency factor that I've applied at the scope level. So this is a little bit more advanced way to sell, but as you really dial in MaidCentral, my thoughts are this is probably a more accurate way once you understand all the ways this is controlled. And understand that, like, when an employee calls out and you mark, you've excused them, or if they make a request off into the future, that reduces them from this labor pool if they have this maintenance tag associated with it as well. If they've been applied to a job and that job also has, any tag on it, it reduces them from this labor pool as well if they've been assigned to work already. So back to my settings. At the scope level, we'll go to this routine clean. So you can name the scope here, associate the individual scope group. Every scope item can have a QuickBooks item. So my chart of account in QuickBooks is a bit of a mess because I've been using QuickBooks for 15 years. And I used to sell products, directly to my customers. We, stopped doing that because it was just kind of a fulfillment issue. But, we used to even separate it out by the exact type of work. Right now, I just drop everything into this category, into house cleaning. So, but if you want to, each scope of work can have its own item. Each additional add-on that you create can have its own item. You can get really granular with what you're tracking in QuickBooks. I am quoting by room here. So the rest of this example will be a quoting by room example. Room deep clean rotation. This is a function in MaidCentral that allows you to have rooms be highlighted for your technicians to do a deep cleaning service on those particular rooms. So for instance, on my room log, the technicians will see the rooms here that are on the default, or any rooms that you've added on. And what's going to happen is every visit, one of the rooms that's on the log in each category, wet, dry, and other, will be highlighted for a deep clean rotation if you have it set. If you have the rotation set to rotate. I have mine set to never, so that we will not be doing rotations with this type of cleaning service that I'm providing. But if you do any kind of rotational cleaning, this is an automatic way to track that. And it's a very great feature for maybe an upsell if you wanted to do that with maybe a different scope type. So if you want this to be displayed for your office, for them to see this type of quote, this box needs to be checked. If this is something you want to be available for online, this box needs to be checked. Technician settings. Plan team size. For scheduling and reporting, the typical team size for this scope of work. For my company, we plan our teams as 1, but if you plan your teams as 2, you would put this here. The reason this is helpful is if you have it set to 2, you typically do, teams of 2 when you're running reports and you're seeing, allowed hours being displayed in terms of the number of team members. Allowed hours won't change, but how long that job is going to take for that size team will be available in some of the reporting and visuals. So make sure you set your planned team size. Technician efficiency. I have mine set at 70%. As a company, our efficiency is way higher than that, at close to 80%, maybe even 82%. However, think of this differently. Think of this as how much of a percentage of a technician's time is billable? How much of their time in a week can you really get paid for? And that is not the same thing as the efficiency that they do every day. Most of us have a 10% unexcused absentee rate of our employees. So by lowering this number by 10%, it helps us plan for how much we can sell on any given day. So it reduces the number of hours that we have available. So the way this works is if you have just some math I'm going to do on paper, but if you had 100 hours of employee labor available on a given day, if everybody showed up, it's going to say that only 70% of that time is sellable. So you can only sell 70 allowed hours. So allowed hours being the job ticket hours or the hours that you've assigned that a job will take. So this is a way to control how much availability you show for online. So the lower you make this number, the less availability that you have for your sales team and for your and for your online booking tool to show your customers. So it'll reduce the number of dates available and so forth that are available for them to book. So this tool is also in a couple other places. You can visualize it. Actually, I don't want to go there because that's going to have customer information. So one second. So we're going to go back to the company scopes of work. So on your dashboard, on your sales dashboard, there is in the top right corner, I'll just describe it, a place where you can see next available dates. And then also on your reports, on your availability calendar, you can get a sense of, for each scope group that you are using here, you can get a sense of how many hours are left available. And so if you have multiple scope groups with different labor pools, you can flip back and forth between them. So if you had 2 offices with different scope groups, you could say, how much do I have in this office? And then click on the other office and check their availability in terms of hours or revenue as well. So back to my scope here for routine cleaning. So on my technician setting, every scope of work that you create can have its own pay type. So this is why I recommend at this time, don't get crazy with your scopes, because you basically need to create a pay type for that for your employees as well, and put that on their employee file for every type of scope of work. And the reason for this is some companies pay differently for deep cleans versus for routine cleaning. So if you pay hourly for a deep clean, you can track that here versus team fee split, which is percentage pay or allowed hours, etc. The last setting here is the trainee position factor. This does not affect payroll. This does not affect anything as far as their pay. But what this does is, in terms of visualization, when your employees get a job and a technician is set to one of the 5 available factors, which is normal, count them as 100%, 3/4, half, a quarter, or do not factor in training time, is that if you have it set to do not factor in training time, if it's a 4-hour job, even though there's a trainee there, the software will say it's still going to take four hours for that trainer and trainee to do. In my case, I have it set to half. That 4-hour job will say 3 hours for that trainer and trainee to do, because the trainer's time, instead of it being 2, it's cutting the trainee's time in half, basically. It's kind of a complicated setting, but in terms of visualizing it for your teams and on your schedule, it helps you better see, okay, this is a trainee assigned to it. It's not going to just take, the 2 hours for 2 people. It's actually going to take 3 today. It'll block that out on your schedule based on this. The final thing on here is online quoting. I don't have the need for most of this because I'm only selling one thing. And so if you were selling multiple things, like a deep clean versus a regular scheduled cleaning, you would need to use this online. If you're selling online, you could create a tooltip, an icon, set an icon color, create ribbon text, and assign a ribbon color to that to make the different things that you sell stand out. But if you look on my booking page, I don't have any choices. I'm only selling one thing. Test. So I'm only selling one thing. And so when they get to this page, instead of there being, pick between, a deep clean, pick between recurring cleaning, all they need to do is pick their frequency and their add-ons, because I'm only selling one thing. So that would be set here for online quoting if you're selling multiple things. For my frequencies, I have it set up as follows. So first off, I have it for office and online for all of the frequencies that I sell except for on-demand. I don't have that as a choice for online selling. The reason that I have single as a choice for online selling is we're telling people if they're picking a single service, we're offering a discount on their first clean and their future cleanings by picking a recurring service, is what I'm trying to express to them. So my factors are they get a 10% discount off of the base rate of every 2 weeks, but really it's a 40% discount off of the single, because you see it's 1.3, it's multiplying a single. All of the times that are being created by my rooms are all being multiplied by basically 30% here, an increase of 30%. So what this is doing is every room here, based on their frequency is getting multiplied by that factor. So for a single, this kitchen is being multiplied by 30% more. So it's going to take roughly another 12 minutes basically to do a kitchen. So that's what's happening with the frequencies. Every one of these has the following adjustments that you can make. So you can add that factor or discount or multiply it to a larger number. You can say this is the minimum job cost that I will do this for. So for weeklies, I'll say we'll do a weekly for 120. It's overriding the settings that are the global settings for the scope. So you can have different hourly rates for every frequency as well if you'd like. So in this case, I have an hourly rate of 60 for this scope of work, and that is the base hourly rate for my company. But for single, we're charging 65 for that. So we're charging a slightly higher hourly rate. So you could have lower or hourly rates for every one of these. And then you can choose whether it's displayed for office, displayed for online. And then finally, you can have online quoting, simply just a ribbon text. In our instance, save 40%. And you can select a ribbon color for that type of quote as well. So, changing it up between the different things that you offer. So you can see that I'm doing a 30% off and a 15% off. And so the way that looks for online is when they're making a choice here, I want them to pick the highest level frequency. And so the way that this kind of looks online is we don't require a deep clean. And I'll show you what we're doing here for our deep clean. We're selling it as a recommended option. And I know that's different than most of what you all want to do. You certainly can make this required, and then it would become transparent to online. They would not need to make a choice here. I just want to collect their credit card information, and then we can upsell them via a phone call afterwards to get them into a different service. But you can see this method does create different pricing on the first job for every one of these choices. So it's going to be slightly different pricing. And then what we do is we encourage them to if they're doing just a one-time service, to pick the single and add a deep clean. And we use some notes here, right? We always recommend to start with this deep clean, add it to your service for a more thorough detailed cleaning. We talk about why they have some lower prices. And we put that also in our terms of service, that we don't guarantee their service without a deep clean and selecting the right frequency. So I'm not saying that it solves all problems, but it certainly can be. You can certainly use the tool to kind of encourage some behavior, which is, in my case, I want to encourage them to pick a recurring frequency. And maybe they just think they're going to be gaming the system, but maybe they decide they loved it so much they're just going to keep that recurring cleaning after the fact. So that's how I have mine feeding frequencies on the software. My room settings are as follows. I'm not saying these are perfect, but the way that mine are set up is that my default room is based on, you have to kind of basically make a decision with your rooms. We'll come back to rooms. I'm just going to show you something here. Is that the next modifier that applies to their price is square feet. So my default room sizes are based on a 1,000 to 1,500 square feet house. So that has a multiple of 1. And so then it's 10% more for a 1,500 to 1,900 square foot house. It's 15% more for this next block. 20% more, 30% more, 35, 40, 50, 55, 60% more for these frequency factors. So my pricing per room is based on 1,000 to 1,500 square foot house. So whatever your default of 1 is what you have to think of as your room pricing. So
Matt, can I interrupt? Where did you click to get to that box on square foot?
Questions, factors here.
Questions, factors, yep.
And then during pricing, one of the default questions is how many square feet. It should be your top question. And the way that that's visualized in MaidCentral for if you're quoting by square feet is it's this drop down here. And then this drop down, probably we need to put some other things in here. So let's put in like a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. And okay, so we have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house, and we're going to say it's 171 per visit for our base. So it's like, our base price. And then let's say they say it's 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. Now that 2,000 to 2,500 square feet, it applied a modifier of 15% to that base price and took that price up to 196.65, which might even be a little bit low. We're experimenting with trying to increase our sales. So we've kind of dialed back some of our online pricing a little bit. So again, the question there is affecting the price in that way. So again, if they said it's like a 3,000 square foot home, right? Now the price is 222. So you have to understand that these modifiers, while this only looks like, what do we say? That 30% more of $170 starts to be significant, right? So these don't need to like double or triple your price in any way. They're going to be a fraction typically. So multiplying it by 1.3 is basically saying it's 30% more than the base room price. So back to the rooms. If you want to just, take a screen grab or anything else that you want to do here, these are fairly accurate for my company. So a kitchen at 35 minutes, a master bathroom at 25 minutes. That may be a little bit low for your company, but that, again, remember that's based on 1,000 to 1,500 square foot house. Those kind of houses don't typically have elaborate master bathrooms. They have, fairly standard ones, but on a 4,000 square foot house, if that's 40% more, right? Because you have, that modifier, if you go 35 times 1.4, that's now a 49-minute bathroom to clean, right? So the modifier affects that room. The advantage, again, of pricing by rooms is that it creates room logs for your technicians to see exactly what they're supposed to do at that house. And you can even, customize that, add rooms, adjust rooms. And then it makes it very easy to make adjustments when a customer says, I'd like to remove a bedroom. Okay, well, that's only 10 minutes. That's like $8, right? Or whatever that price is. It makes it very easy to make price adjustments during your quoting process to do so. So again, these are based on my production rates. Your production rates may vary, but these might be good gouges to take some screenshots of and play around with as a base starting point. And again, I iterate, this is based on the square footage that has a factor of 1. And in my instance, it's 1,000 to 1,500 square feet. So whatever square footage factor has a factor of 1 or 100%, this is what you would want to base this on. The next page is the rates page. So again, you can have a base hourly rate. This can be overridden by your frequencies, if you remember that right. A minimum bill rate. This is where you can set up your skip fees and your lockout fees. So we will charge a skip fee if somebody cancels their service within 2 weeks. I mean, we just basically charge $20 more for a skip fee. If you skip your service, we're going to charge you for it, basically. no matter when the window is typically. So this will allow you to basically, when you hit skip on a customer, it'll do a pop-up, and you can uncheck this if you like. If you do not want to charge them, like they're sick with COVID or something like that, you can unselect the skip fee at this time, but this will more easily automate the process of charging that fee if you would like to do so. And you could create a discount to waive this fee if you wanted to, in the discounts, basically as like a courtesy. So you could still charge them the skip fee and then apply a $20 discount to, and say, hey, courtesy, waive it. And that way they get an invoice that's $0, and they understand that you're probably doing something as a courtesy for them, and not just the expectation is that they can skip whenever they like. So I like skip fees, even if you don't really ever charge them. You could create them and then apply a discount to them, and we can talk about that a little bit. My company doesn't even do that, but I saw someone doing that. Kat does that for rag mops, and I thought that was a great idea, and I'm going to talk to my staff about implementing that in the future. So the next thing is extras and upselling. So the advantages of doing this are multifold. So these will all basically, if you have them set up for online, be available as upgrades during the process. So this deep clean, this option that I have as recommended. Let me just open one of these up that's been created. So I have it set as a deep clean. It's set as a cleaning extra. This also makes it available in the customer portal that they can actually add a deep clean onto their service. If you put, as a general rule, if you invite your customers to the customer portal, I think it's a good idea to put a link to your customer portal in your reminders and let them basically go to their cleaning before their cleanings. And there is a list of available upgrades that they can do based on these extras. So they can upgrade putting a fridge on, they can upgrade a deep clean. This is a great way to market to your current customers and increase your average ticket with your customers by using the add-ons feature within MaidCentral. So cleaning extra, this you can set it to recurring or one time. Basically, the idea is if it's they can pick either your salesperson or online, they could pick it as a recurring deep clean if they want to do a deep clean every time, but you want it to be displayed as the most likely choice for them. How they measure this is the quantity. Again, the measurement can be either quantity or per square feet. And this is set to house cleaning as a QuickBooks item. I don't have it set up as its own item. I have the price calculation set as a percentage. I have it set to 95% because I don't want it to be super easy for them to figure out, oh, they're just doubling the price at 100%, right? So by using kind of an oddball percentage, it kind of makes it a little trickier for them to figure out, okay, it's just double the price or whatever. Most people don't do math like in their head like that, but some people will, and they'll be like, okay, that's how it's working. And then the time calculation, I have it set at percentage, but I have it set at 90%. That way, the effective billable hour that we're charging is higher for this time because we're only giving them 90% of the time. So effectively, we're raising the hourly rate on this when they select this service as an add-on. The last thing is, if you wanted to make this required for online booking, it would automatically put this on as a line item on the booking page. So instead of them having to select this, it would just say deep clean, and it would just basically, it'd be like required for the first visit, like spa treatment for your home, much more time allotted. And then the first job total would be here if you're doing it this way versus two different scopes. So I, again, have mine set up as one scope, and this is the settings that I have for this. One last thing, every one of these choices has the ability to, if you have it set for online, has the ability for you to, again, put a different name for it, a tooltip. And again, a tooltip, even if it's a required item, will be here next to it like this, right? Like, why am I being charged this? There's a little question mark next to it. And you can pick an icon from the icon list. This will ever expand. We're looking at more functionality with icons, but you can pick an icon color, pick a ribbon text and a ribbon color for that. And so you have your choices of brand and all these other colors available. Last but not least is discounts or promo codes. These can be available for either online booking or office booking. If they're for office booking, these are like set discounts that you can apply just via a drop-down menu. They don't have to type something in. They'll be available for your office to basically just select one of these and apply it to the service. Every one of these discounts can have its own QuickBooks item. They can be set to either be a one-time or recurring by default. You can set a unique QuickBooks item, and they can either be a flat amount or a percentage. A flat amount would be like, we're going to take $11 off, or a percentage would be like, we're going to take 11% off. So all of these can be created here. And again, when you're doing your quote, these are available via dropdown. If you look at how I name all of mine, I use the logic that these, if they're going to be online, that they need to be promo code friendly. So I just use the logic that they're all capitalized and they're typically set as one word because that's typically how people understand promos. So if you are going to use them online, that's a suggestion that I would use on those. And then finally, on my setup are my questions and factors. So questions and factors, I have things that I have offline or that I have on for the office that I don't ask for online. Like, I don't ask how did they hear about us for online booking, because guess what? I have Google Analytics. I take my customer data from MaidCentral and I upload it into another tool, and I'm actually able to identify where they found us through other channels. So why am I going to slow down my online sales process and do that? But if you want them to pick this, you can actually put this here. The other thing you can do is you can there's another level of questions, just so you remember. So questions are managed globally by clicking here. There's another link where all the questions are selected, are globally set for all your scopes. And then you can, again, adjust them at the individual scope. I understand this can be a little confusing, but just understand that you can create the questions here and then choose which questions you want to use at each individual scope level. So the global questions allow you to do some things like you could actually create questions that you want before you give them pricing. So if there's other things that you want them to answer, if you put them before pricing, it'll be on the first page of their booking form that they have to answer that question before you'll take them to the pricing page. So you can collect a little bit more data up front before you send them to pricing. These questions can be arranged in different orders and so forth and so on. And I'm going to just see if I can do, nope. How many half bathrooms, whole number. Okay. So back to my questions is I have a lot turned off. If you're quoting by square feet, you can actually turn off bedrooms, bathrooms, and half bathrooms if you don't even care to collect that data. But if you are quoting by rooms like I am, you have to collect those 4 questions. Those are default questions. But you can turn off questions like, how did you hear about us? And if you look, questions can be set up to affect price and time, but I don't have things like how many people are in your household affecting my price for online booking, but I might ask that in the office. I'm experimenting with that. And if I do that, I don't have anything really set up for it now, but I do have this dirt code. I'm starting to experiment with that. So you would need to basically create a factor and then allow that to affect pricing, but you'd have to build those questions at the global question level here. And again, to get to those global questions, you can, when you first sign in to this, you can get to it there on the left-hand side, but you can navigate to it at the top here as well. So if you look, most of my questions are turned off for online. I only have one question really set up, which is special instructions. And I have set that up a little bit differently for online for the purposes of online booking, where it doesn't affect pricing. It's a rich text box where they can apply some information. I have, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. I have it set up with some help text, like how can we access your home, pet instructions or other instructions or notes. I have an icon selected as a key. And so it, kind of makes it clear, like, how are we going to get into your home and some other things. So just remember, all of these questions can be, offer on for your office or whatnot. You can actually create text that helps your salespeople basically get the answers, and almost use it like call center software, where it's required or not required to continue the sale and, improve the outcomes of the sales process. So these are basically my basic settings, and we're not going to have time to probably go to see how this necessarily looks in action, but I'm going to go over one last thing. So if we're creating a quote, a new leader quote, this is kind of how these settings actually look and feel for my company. So first off, you can, put in a zip code to see if they're in your zip codes. If I put in a zip code that's not in the service area, my salespeople will immediately be notified that that is not someone we service. If an existing customer calls and they want a quote, by just putting in a phone number, it'll actually do a quick search of your existing contacts. You can choose them to kind of speed up the process. And if they have a home on file, you can select that. I will need to put in a zip code here. Actually, I'm not even sure if I need one because it's being fed up there. I do have to pick a source and then next go to pricing. Is it requiring a zip code? I think it wants one. So I've already got some quoting information that was saved for this customer, but all your salesperson really needs to do is just put in, my home is 2,000 square feet. It's 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. And it's, you can ask things like floors here. If it's 2 stories, that will add stairs here, which you can add to your room logs and create times. If you have factors like how many people, pets that affect pricing, you can put those in and it'll affect your pricing as well based on questions you've created. But this top here is all you need to do to create a price with quoting by room. If you want to get more granular, you can ask them about, are there any other special rooms that we'd like to add? And they tell you there's a gym they'd like to be cleaned, or there is a pool house or anything else. You can add those rooms here to affect the price. And at this point, a price is generated based on those settings that we've created. And I basically can give them a recurring price here, which is based on this time of 3 hours and 49 minutes, or 3.49 hours, excuse me. And so their price is $209 per visit. And I can sell a deep clean as a separate item, or I could do it as an add-on to this, just like we do for online. But for office quotes, we typically sell them as different things. And that's where I'm going to leave it at for today as far as settings. And a lot of the other training we do will dive into this, in some different ways.